Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is September the 14th, 2023, and just a brief spiel, the normal spiel that we give to the people who are new. These are the Independent Scholars Evenings, and this is a platform that we give, that we have provided in good standing since 1996. And this is for the ongoing work of independent scholars. We do not decide or give opinions about, what to say and what to do, what not to do. We definitely are not funded by any woke or left-wing organization. In fact, we're not funded by anybody at all. We are freestanding, and all the work is either volunteer or we raise funds for special needs like honorarium of some special event, but otherwise it's all volunteer. And then once it is presented in these independence evenings, then we upload them on the website. That's our only rule. You have to present here, and then after that it is uploaded, and then the search engines pick it up, and then we promote it. The two branches that we work on is the Independent Scholars Evenings for independent research. What you research is really up to you. And then the other part is self-sufficiency in wellness and integrative holistic healing. We spell holistic with the W, so it's mind, body, and spirit. Just for interest, the W had been taken out of the whole in the 70s, and it was holistic. A new word had been coined, holistic with just the H, and that was mind and body. And they eliminated the spirit because psychiatry and psychologists does not encourage spiritual work, and that's the reality for most people. So we found it outrageous, and we actually put the W back in our work. So you'll see holistic with an H and holistic with a W. With that, I'd like to begin the evening. This evening, I am taking it myself for one of my pieces that I've worked on, and so I'm going to go right into it. It's a letter that I have written to the Prime Minister of India. Although, and I have to give that caveat, I'm not interfering with any what you call political situation, because as an American, I'm an American, and as an American, the Logan Act, and I'm aware of the Logan Act, which I don't know exactly when it was put into effect, but a private citizen cannot interfere or be involved with government affairs of another country. And that is very, very valid, because you don't know what our government is doing and what the things are going on. They're all top secret, and you as a private citizen cannot interfere. But this has got nothing to do with any of the political stuff. This is purely cultural. And it is something that I had been thinking about, or it's been in my, be in my bonnet for a long, long time. When I was, in America and seeing what is going on in India, in Bharat. And so I finally wrote the letter to address it because the timing is right. There's a lot of support for what I am saying. Basically, the crux of the letter is to drop the word India and stick to the original word. And I'm going to give you the background, but I'll give you the background after. Let me first read the letter. It's a short letter, so it's not going to take very long. So here goes. 15 August is Independence Day. And so this is sent to him by land mail and by email and through the Consul General of India, through the consulate from Houston. Dear Honorable Prime Minister Sri Modi ji, thank you very much for all you have done and are doing to bring up the name, image, and strength of Bharat. There is one important matter that still needs to be addressed. It can easily be done by your august hand. The matter of removing the last vestige of the British in our name. This has been on my mind for at least 20 years, which I have examined at length, but the time has never been right to bring it forward. I feel the time now is perfect. Please remove the British name for Bharat, both from our Constitution and from all official nomenclature. The British coined the name India, quote unquote, India, as part of their imperialism. It is part of the method used by the British and by America to some extent to show ownership. First course of action is to change the name. The British changed the name of students, people, states, towns, and countries. In Myanmar, when it was Burma, all students entering schools were given British names. It was the first step in breaking the child. America did this with their slaves when slavery was an active social construct. All slaves took the name of their owners. Even after they were freed, they kept their owners' names. The word, quote, India, unquote, is a contraction of the Latin word, quote, indigenous, unquote. It is a derogatory term. It brings a sense of otherness, which is a residue of the victor-vanquished psychology which British imperialism enforced. That is why the term, quote, Indian, unquote, is used in America for the tribal people. The word India was never used by Christopher Columbus. The word India had not been coined at the time when Christopher Columbus had discovered America. Indigenous as a word was used as a code word by the people who already lived on the land and needed to be conquered by the invaders. Besides, Christopher Columbus never spoke English. He spoke Spanish and perhaps knew Latin, if that. I had a recent experience at the Houston Indian Consulate. When I was there, I noticed that in Devanagari, the word Bharat was used. Devanagari is the script of Bharat, okay? So when I was there, I noticed that in Devanagari, the word Bharat was used, while in English, Romanized script, the word India was used. I have noticed that in other Bharatiya consulates. This schism is very passé. It is demeaning for Bharatiya to constantly have another word for their own reference and a separate word for, quote, outside, quote, English reference. How British Raj is this? I had asked the consulate official why this cannot be changed. His response was, quote, in English it is India and in Hindi it is Bharat, unquote. He was a young man, so this schism is being permeated down the generations. Your Honor, Prime Minister Shri Modi ji, I move we revert to Bharat and Bharat alone. There is no need for another name for Western cover. And Western is quote-unquote cover. Some people spun the story of the Indus Valley civilization. However, that was a spin doctor skill. We can justifiably discard it as such. Many countries are reverting to their original name. Burma no longer exists. Its British coinage being deleted. Turkey is now on its way out. Its British coinage being removed. These are only two examples. There are many more. It is time for Bharat to remember her heritage, cement it as you have been leading her to do, and remove the last vestiges of British imperialism. I submit an extract from Vishnu Purana to support my request. And then there's a quote in Sanskrit, which I'm not going to read here because, you don't know Sanskrit. But essentially, it translates that the country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountains is called Bharatam. So here the ocean is the Indian Ocean and the snowy mountains is the Himalayas, and it's called Bharatam. There dwell the descendants of Bharat. Therefore, the name was in existence from the time of the Puranas, referring it to the land of the region as Bharat Varsham. Varsham means country. I attach in addition a short light essay I had written when Disney apologized formally in national newspapers for allowing a group to perform in Disneyland using the name, quote, Indian, unquote. While I am now an American national, I am Bharatiya. I have Gaurav. Gaurav means pride. In Bharat, I do not wish to see her still with the ball and chains of imperialistic subliminal control. India is not our term. It never existed in our Vedic heritage. This will be the final step in casting away the British cloak, discarding their binding chains. Today is our Independence Day. I had written this early on August 6, 2023, but it did not get sent. There was a reason. I now understand it is Mahima of Divine Mother. It was to be sent to you today in celebration with deep respect. Then I give my name, my formal name, and my phone number. And then I sent a copy of this to the CM, one of the CM, the chief ministers, like governor of a specific state, Yogi Adityanath, and he's very strong in promoting the original culture of Bharat. And then I also sent it to Jai Shankar, who is the foreign external minister. And so that's it. It's a very short letter, about a page, 2 pages, but the quote takes up half the page. It's really about a page and a half. And so I'm giving a little background, and then, of course, ask me whatever question you wish. But the original name of that region, which is all of that South Asian region, under the rule of one of the kings, during his administration, that whole region was bigger than the Roman Empire, and it was Chandragupta Maurya. So the name for that region was Aryaputri. Varta is the Sanskrit word for nation, and it was the first concept of nation that existed in human history. And this was about 2,005 years before our common era. That's before the birth of Jesus. So it was Varta. Arya is the Arya people, which Hitler used as he took it and made it into Aryan. But the original people, the Arya people, they lived in that region, which is, is now known as India, but it's not just India, it's Pakistan and Afghanistan and Burma and Tibet. And so that whole region was Aryavarta, the nation of the Aryan. And then it got changed to Bharat, the entire region. And it was not limited to what India is now. So politically, the word India is inaccurate. It was coined in 1948 by Winston Churchill. I mean, the division was coined then. The word was coined a little bit earlier. And it is literal in the literature of Bharat. It's inaccurate, doesn't exist. And so the Constitution is the only constitution, I think, in the whole world that actually has two names. One is the name Bharat, and the other name is India, and it's up to you to use either one, either or. And that is why I wrote to him that, and I'm joining the large number of people who are also making this request, which is stop using the word that doesn't belong to you, or is not part of your of the culture. And why would the Constitution have two names? So, just eliminate it and then just use Bharat, and everybody will get used to it the way they got used to Myanmar, and now it's Turkiya. Turkey is now, this original name is Turkiya, which I actually prefer because the turkey is like the bird that you kill in Thanksgiving, just so that it doesn't fit in. So basically, this is it, and I'll also mention a little bit about the that essay that I wrote, and that essay of mine is published, and the title of that is Christopher Columbus, error like a mistake or a statement. Because story goes out that he thought that they were Indians, and they, called them Red Indians and all of that kind of stuff. But like I say, in 1400, the word India was not in use. The Vishnu Purana that I quoted here was 1600. So till 1600, the word Bharatvarsh, that is the nation of the land of the Bharat people, that was 1600. And Christopher Columbus came in 1400. The word was not even coined at that time. India was not coined. So that's just something after the fact. And like I say, he did not speak English. So coming back to Disney, so what Disney did, and I have the link in my article. There was in Texas. There's a group of school students, and they call the Indian, and spelled with the EIN, the French way. And so they had their parade, and in their parade, it's actually beautifully done. But they take the dance move of the local Apache tribe. Like they're 2 steps forward, they're bending down forward, and then they say who, and then they bend back, and then they do a little powwow dance. Well, the powwow is an actual dance of the tribe. There's nothing derogatory about that, and it's actually a matter of pride. So people objected and said that they are making fun of the Indians, of the tribal people of America. And Disney was so colossally stupid that the CEO actually gave an apology in the New York Times. So it went all over the nation. And so then I saw that, and then I wrote an essay about that and brought up the fact that the word Indian, you don't have to be ashamed. On the one hand, you don't have to be ashamed of American culture. But in reality, the word didn't exist. So I quoted that again, and I said that, and then on a cover, when I wrote to Mr. Modi, the email that I wrote over there, I mentioned also that the term East Indian is now invented in the 70s. So the confusion is actually becoming worse. The word East Indian, which actually means Bangladesh or Assam or the eastern part of India, Bharat, it doesn't mean all of the entire region, but in modern business, in corporate business in America, the people who come from India, Bharat, call themselves East Indian too. So instead of sorting the issue out, it's just compounding it. And so I feel very strongly that that line has to be cut so that this because it's not going to end. And the idea is to give a sense of otherness. That itself is derogatory. So I wrote that essay, and that was written in 2022 when the Disney thing happened. And it's published. And then so to this year, I write the letter, and then I quoted my essay, and I sent them both to him. So that's what it is. Now tell me, any comments, any questions?
Not for me, but that is a fascinating history lesson, and I think your letter was written beautifully.
Thank you. It was fun to do. You know, you've known me for a long time. A certain amount of adventure is my middle name, so it's kind of fun to do. But it's also true. You know, why would you? Can you imagine your Constitution of America that has two names for America?
Not at all.
Suppose like the tribal people call this land Turtle Island. And suppose the Constitution of like United States for America, that really was that these states are all united for America, was the original term, which changed the United States of America. The states are all getting together, but suppose you had thrown in Turtle Island. Can you imagine the confusion? It's ridiculous. So here you have a constitution, yes, and the reason that they have this constitution with the double name is because the Congress Party, that the first administration after independence in 1948, they were pro-British. Because at that time, when they were independent, they should have taken India out and kept it as Bharat, as the original, the true name for that region. But they were pro-British and they were Anglophile, and so they kept the British name. And this is the first time since independence, which is also an interesting part of the history, first time that you have a prime minister in that land that is promoting the original culture. And he has to deal with a lot of problems, you know. So I feel that as many people support him, even me as an American, sending him support that, okay, drop the foreign word. You know, he can do that.
Yeah, I think to return to a sense of national pride, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, did you know any of this information before?
I did. I learned about this a couple weeks ago, maybe. I heard about
couple of weeks.
Or a week, maybe. Kind of recently, but I have heard about it.
That's interesting. You actually so recently heard about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh. In what context? Because I am interested. I'm curious.
I'm trying to think back now where it was that I had seen it. I'm not sure where.
So it's very interesting. Yeah, when it comes to you, do share. That means to say that it is also already getting permeated into, an area of media that is wider than Bharat itself. So it's already traveling.
It's funny. I thought about you, and I meant to message you on the topic, but then you sent that notification out. So
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And Virginia has a very strong population of people from Bharat, so I can fully understand and appreciate how it's being circulated out there.
Yeah. Definitely, especially where I am.
Yes, you have a very strong network.
Yes.
So that's very good. Now, interestingly, just for interest, the G20 that was held. So he gave actually there was and I can send it to you. He gave excellent, not he, but the administration gave an excellent brochure about somebody's trying to call in. Just ignore that sound. Giving the background of Bharat, not background, but just some bits of information about Bharat. Very well done, but interestingly, the president, who's like the figurehead of the administration, would be equal like to the Queen because it's a parliament system. She sent out invitations for dinner, and she used the word Bharat. She says the president of Bharat. Yes, this is in G20. That's, I think, still going on or just about ending. That the president of Bharat invites you to dinner. And then when Modi was at the table, and you know how when you're sitting in the table, there's a little kind of a name that is in front of you so people know who you are. You know, they have them in the United Nations everywhere. So it was Mr. Modi, Prime Minister of Bharat. They used Bharat then too. So that's why, and this, I sent this, I did not know that because the thing was already decided in printing. I did not know that. In due honesty, I had no idea that this is what they were going to do in G20. I wrote the letter on August 6th, and I sent it on August 15th, which is the Independence Day. And then in September is where G20 happened, and it was after it was already happening. So he probably has not read my letter, of course. I'm not expecting that he has, but the universal, the divine hand, the timing is what fascinates me. That I was doing this here, and they were doing it at the same time over there. So it's pretty amazing. On another side, and linked with this conversation, is the question of opposition. So who is the opposition and what is the opposition? And so far, I have not found any. About 20 years ago, I was discussing this with a friend of mine who happens to be president of a bank. And I said, we've really got to stop using the word India. He says it'll be too expensive. It's just not worth it, spending the time and money to make the change. And, of course, I didn't agree with him, but I let it go. And even now that this is, a hot topic and it's actually happened in the sense that he opted to use the word Bharat during G20, that was introducing the word Bharat to the other 19 members of G20, and 21, actually 20, because Africa Union joined the G20, and so they also were aware of the word Bharat. It was introduced to everybody. So that was a wonderful thing, but the criticism, I have only seen one, which is the expense. How are you going to take like IIT, the Indian School of Technology, and change it? And obviously it can't be done overnight, but it's the traction. Like I've stopped using the word India. And sometimes when I use it, I bite my tongue and correct myself and say, no, Bharat, So when the traction, like any word that is introduced, any term that is coined and introduced, like when they coined the term India, it didn't happen overnight, but they used the term till it got traction and then it was cemented. Interestingly, Chris, the time the word pagan was coined was about the time the word India was coined. And that was the time, yes, I looked it up. It was around 1600. I'm not sure exactly when India was coined because it's not clear in the media, in the research when you look at the the history of words and all of that. But pagan was coined in the 1600s when the movement of evangelism was very strong, by the missionaries converting to Christianity. So to create the otherness, anybody who believed in nature or those things that were not part of Christian thought was called a pagan. But that was very recent, 1600 for a language as old as English. That's like day before yesterday.
Yeah, that's not very old.
It's not very old at all. So it's about the same time that the word India, I think, but I need to know when it was first used. And because until then it was all Bharat. It could be even later than that. It could be in the 1700s, because the Britishers came to the Dutch, the East India Company, the same company that our founding fathers fought for the same reason of taxation. And at the same time, 1700s, 1600s, I think, is when they were in Goa. So I need to get the timeline down there, but it's not relevant to this letter because that's so long ago. But it is the same company, sure, the East India Company, that was actually the front face, the owners or the manipulators or the puppet masters of the East India Company was the Dutch East India Company, not the British. Huh. And they were the controllers, and they, how the controllers always keep their names silent and quiet and hidden, and it's very powerful. They use power that way. So a lot of people don't know about it, but I read the treaties. There's a treaties on everything. So you have to go into the internet, as long as it's not scrubbed, which is a big danger that they're doing now, but you can still find the treaties of the Dutch. It's very boring to read. And I don't think I finished it because I think I fell asleep so many times while I was reading it. But it is there. Dutch East India Company. The treaties, the script of the treaties is Old English, which just makes it. I mean, it's readable, but the script is still not modern.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's uploaded, and I hope to God that they don't they don't hide it. They don't scrub them off the internet, because it's very hard to find it. Then you'd have to go to Amsterdam and go to the libraries there. They do that a lot. So it's the same East India Company, but it was around that time, and I think it was 1500 when the Portuguese went to Goa, which is on the west coast of Bharat, and so they made landfall there, Vasco da Gama, and from this is just what little I know. I'm not a historian, and it's it's what I remembered from my studies. So it's a recent word, and it's about the same time pagan and India as part of the colonization.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, when you hear the word, do you have any hesitation or any resistance or any negative feeling about it? Because you're not used to that history. But if you hear the word Bharat, how do you react to it?
I'll definitely use it,
You'd have no problem, right?
No, none at all. No, not at all.
And then you would identify with the same people who are from that land and that region.
Yeah, definitely, of course. I support it. Once again, I support your national identity. The term India once again was kind of forced upon you. So
Yeah.
it's time to it's probably past time, but now is the time. And I'm sure there will be a monetary cost. You know what I mean? There's going to be something, but there's a monetary cost to anything. I think it's worth it. For once again your original national identity.
Well, I don't know if there will be much of a cost, because like these brochures that were printed, they didn't have to reprint them. They just did a first run, and it was all with the correct name. Like when they did the invitation cards for dinner, they didn't have to reprint them. They just said President of Bharat. That was a decision that was made, and then they went into print, and then the cards were made and uploaded. The brochures were just first print. So even with the other names, like all the circulars and all of that kind of stuff, you run out of them. You only print as many as you want. With the desktop publishing now, for example, then you don't have to redo them. You would just change it in your database and eliminate the word India and put Bharat instead. So when you do a run, it would just be with Bharat. So you really don't have to go back. So the cost would be like passports.
Right.
You would when you print the new passports, but you're not going to do a recall. That would be ridiculous. You can't do a recall for 1.4. Well, not everybody has a passport, but even if there were like 500,000 people with a passport, you can't do a recall. So whenever they expire, which is every 5 years or 10 years, then at the end of that time, then you would just that's what I think, but of course we are not in the decision making. I don't see too much expense involved with it. Yeah, but I see the benefit of the national identity.
Definitely.
And the feeling that you are no longer, a subject of the damn queen. I shouldn't say that, but I do. I'm not a fan of hers.
Understood. Still, no matter who gave you the moniker, it's not your original name or identity. So.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah.
Start the process.
Let it go. It is past time for it to go.
Start the process and then get back over here to Virginia to visit at least.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to. I still haven't gotten another car, which I have to do. I have to get my act together on this, and I want to come up and see the changing of the leaves. Has it started already, or is it not yet?
It has.
It has?
It starts in the mountains. Yeah, the mountains are starting to turn.
Oh, wow. So
Beautiful.
it'll be beautiful. September 15th. Usually it's September. By the end of September, they're all full in glory. And then October in Illinois, it used to be October. Middle to end of October is when they would be in full glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I've got to see this. This is the first and last time I'm going to be in this heat. It's just too much. Next year, I'm just going to leave. You've not seen heat like this. 107, 110.
Yeah, I've experienced that South Miami heat, but I think it's different.
I think it's different. I don't know. I've not been there. No. So did you like the letter then? The one that I...
Yeah, I love the content, and I love the way it's written. I think you did a great job. It's very elegantly written.
Thank you so much. Well, if there's nobody else who has any questions, I'm just going to, we can continue talking, but I can turn the recording off.
Okay.
Okay, hang on one sec.